Hello students. Today's story comes from The Miracle of America, Birth of a Nation, written by Brian Trotter and William Norton. It's a wonderful book with many stories about our founders, and today's story is called The Bulletproof George Washington. Now this story comes from a time a little before the Revolutionary time. It's actually during the French and Indian Wars. And this battle takes place on July 9th, 1755, and it's called the Battle of Monongahela. Now at this time you had Indians, Native Americans, and the French who were using guerrilla warfare, and so they were hiding behind trees fighting with their rifles, and the British soldiers were marching in beautifully formed rows in their bright red uniforms, quite often with a big white X across them, and there were 1,500 of these British soldiers marching down a forest road. Now their officers were on horseback, and so they would ride back and forth, encouraging the soldiers and informing them how they should be marching and so forth. Well, one of the young lieutenants was a colonel named George Washington. He was fighting for Britain at that time. The Indians could not believe the way that the Brits would just walk straight into their rifle view and would be slaughtered, but that was called the European way of fighting. The slaughter of this particular battle had gone on for about 2 hours. One of the chiefs said, "Let your aim be certain and he dies. You can't miss." The warriors leveled their rifles at George Washington. Round after round, bullet after bullet, they never hit him. Twice his horse was shot from underneath him, and he had to get a horse of another officer who had fallen and got on that horse and kept back and forth giving orders to the troops. The battle that day, nearly 1,000 young men were killed, and still, 1,000, and still Colonel Washington survived. The native warriors could not believe it. They looked at this man and they seldom missed with their rifles, but they were very perplexed. Once, one of the chiefs said, "Stop firing. This one is under special protection of the Great Spirit." Another Indian said, "I had 17 clear shots at this man, and I could not bring him to the ground. This man was not born to be killed by a bullet." So after the firing had slowed down, Washington gathered his remaining troops, and they retreated to safety. That evening, as they were gathering the troops and checking their injuries and such, he noticed an odd tear in his coat. It was a bullet hole. And he removed the coat and looked underneath at his shirt, and his shirt nor his skin were even fazed by this bullet. He took his coat off and found 3 more bullet holes where the bullets had passed through the fabric but had never pierced his skin. The life of George Washington had been miraculously spared. Now the question for today is, we all know that George Washington was a very special leader. I would like for you to research 2 other examples of his unselfish service to his country. There are a lot of them. Have a great day, students. Bye.